Biden announces a groundbreaking union with Europe. What does this mean going forward? How is inflation changing the way we shop and cook at home? Young people have the power to sway elections. We have the information you need to become a registered voter. All this and more on News OSU. Hello and welcome into News OSU. I'm Michael Zorales and today is Tuesday, March 29th. We're glad you're with us. We begin with our show with the latest update on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Since the beginning of Russia's invasion, Putin has used Russia's energy resources to coerce and manipulate its neighbors. World leaders met in Brussels on March 24th for a round of emergency summits of NATO. The meeting allowed them to align their responses to the invasion.
NATO has never been more united than it is today. Putin is getting exactly the opposite what he intended to have as a consequence of going into Ukraine. We've built that same unity with the European Union and with the leading democracies of the G7.
Biden announced that the plans to provide 15 billion cubic meters of natural gas by the end of the year to the European Union. This will replace the natural gas Europe usually imports from Russia. On a more lighthearted note, we're happy to share good news regarding COVID-19 numbers on campus. Hoping to minimize the spread of COVID-19, OSU pushed back the start of its spring semester in 2021 and canceled spring break. However, after 2 years of restricted travel, students celebrated spring break once again. But now, did this affect COVID-19 numbers coming back? According to the university COVID dashboard, COVID numbers have declined significantly. The dashboard shows that there are only 8 active cases on campus right now. This is a significant difference compared to the 27 active cases we had in March 2021. The university also released a campus update last Friday stating that masks are now encouraged rather than expected. We have another milestone for the university as well, a new era at OSU as we welcome new head coach for the Cowgirl basketball team. James Parsons is here to tell us more.
Thanks, Mike. OSU recently announced the hiring of J.C. Hoyt as their next head coach. Previously, Hoyt coached last 5 seasons at Kansas City, where she had an 81-65 record. Hoyt said in a recent interview that she is ready to make an impact here at OSU.
It ultimately boils down to the people and the leadership here, and just having a place where I feel like we can compete at the absolute highest level.
We're all excited to seeing how Hoyt leads our Cowgirls to a successful season. I'll be talking more about Hoyt and her plans for Cowgirls later in the sports segment.
Thank you for that, James. We look forward to hearing more. It's no secret that many of us have noticed our grocery bills soaring higher than usual. Inflation continues to hit grocery stores hard, increasing the price of almost everything. People are not only breaking the bank at the gas pump, but also at the register. Phoenix Plum tells us how this affects you.
Since the start of the pandemic, labor shortage, product shortage, and now with the war between Russia and Ukraine, you will be seeing prices increase for food. The U.S. Department of Agriculture reports that food prices are expected to grow between 2.5% and 3.5% this year.
What this means, it will probably change how you shop and how you cook at home.
You could see an increase in items like bread, beef, and chicken, specifically 20 cents to $1 more based on the item. Lauren Hadnot believes that the price increase will change how she spends her money when it comes to eating.
I think that as things start to increase, I'm probably going to start buying more of the generic brand products rather than name brand in order to save money a little bit. And then, like I said, just not eating out as much.
Even if your items rise a couple of cents, this increase can make some feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck.
It's like, oh, how am I going to be able to afford to live if everything is going up, but I'm still getting paid the exact same amount? So
those who need food assistance can go to Our Daily Bread Food and Resource Center located on 12th Avenue. Here, you can do your normal shopping for free once a month.
You don't have to earn the right to come here. If you're experiencing food insecurity, you come here and we can help.
As we see prices increase, we could possibly see a shortage in some products as well. 29% of global wheat and 75% oil exports come from Ukraine and Russia. And with sanctions on Russia, this can be the cause for why your bread aisle might be looking empty. With prices rising for almost everything, it's a good time to start budgeting if you haven't already, and keep a lookout for which items you might have to leave on the shelf. For News OSU, I'm Phoenix Plum.
Thank you for that, Phoenix. Mark your calendars because the primary election is on June 28th. Young people are in a powerful political force in this nation. Elected officials will decide your future, so help choose the one whose vision you like best. Channing Nesmith tells us everything you need to know about registering to vote.
In the 2020 election, Oklahoma had about 2.8 million eligible voters. From that, 31.7% of voters were between 45 to 64 years old, whereas 21.8% of voters were 18 to 29 years old. If you're a legal citizen of the U.S. and you're at least 18 years old, you can register to vote.
I had a teacher in high school, my U.S. history teacher, told my entire class that if you are 18 and you register to vote, he will give you bonus points.
Gyro says she filled out her paperwork and sent it in. A few weeks later, her voter registration card was sent to her in the mail. There are many ways that you can register to vote. You can register in person, online, or have an application mailed to you.
So it's pretty simple. You get the voter registration form and fill it out. It just asks a few questions and it's pretty straightforward, and then you turn it in.
Registering to vote is important, and this is how your registration can go from here to here. The legislative branch is held here at the state capitol with 48 members of the Senate and 101 members of House of Representatives. Let's break it down.
Well, for legal citizens, especially younger college students, it's really important to vote, to have your voice heard. If people always complain something's not right with the state government or federal government or local, and the best way to make a change is to vote.
When it comes to voting, your voice can be heard. For more information, visit www.oklahoma.gov. For News OSU, I'm Channing Nesmith.
As we mentioned at the top of the newscast, the war in Ukraine is now onto its second month. Nations around the world are watching to see how much the United States gets involved. Do we send troops like Iraq and Afghanistan, or is this more of a hands-off approach? News OSU's Dallas Haggerty has his opinion in this week's I'm Just Saying.
Putin is an aggressor. He is the aggressor, and Putin must pay the price. He cannot pursue a war that threatens the very foundations, which he's doing, the very foundations of international peace and stability.
On February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russian leader Vladimir Putin wants to achieve world control. Overrunning Ukraine and its government is the first step in the eyes of Putin. This would in turn end Ukraine's desire to join the Western Defense Alliance, NATO. However, there is one question sitting in the back of most Americans' minds. At what point does the world police join the fight? Many would agree America is already influencing the war at a positive rate. The U.S. has imposed various sanctions on Russia, the biggest being the ban of all energy imports into the country. In the short term, this means a massive economic shutdown for Russia. That is the last thing a country wants when in a full-blown war with a neighboring enemy.
To the outsider looking in, it may seem as if the U.S. isn't heavily involved in the war overseas. In modern-day warfare, you don't always need troops on the ground to make a difference.
I also want to be clear, though. We will make sure Ukraine has weapons to defend against an invading Russian force. We will send money and food and aid to save the Ukrainian people.
As powerful as sanctions can be, there could be a point to where reverting back to ground control is the new objective. Dating back to America's involvement in World War I and World War II, the controversy typically played out over time before America had to serve as the world police and put a stop to the European conflict. Take World War II, for example. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, America officially declared war on Japan. This led to America inserting itself into the Second World War. Will it take a specific attack on American soil, or will Putin and Russia push America to the edge without firing a single shot on American land?
It's safe to say the U.S. will travel to the conflict before the conflict travels to us. If Russia continues to invade Ukraine, the U.S. could very well get involved. I'm Dallas Haggerty, and I'm just saying.
Rain is coming this weekend. As we look toward Friday, you can expect partly cloudy skies with a high of 66 and a low of 45. The rain is expected to roll into later that night. Heading into Saturday, there will continue to be partly cloudy skies with a high of 68 and a low of 45. Finishing off the week on Sunday, things will heat back up with a high of 76 and a low of 48.
Basketball season may be over, but there is still a lot happening for the Cowgirl basketball team. Oklahoma State University and their women's basketball coach, Jim Littell, parted ways earlier this month. The Pokes did not take long in finding a replacement as they announced on Monday the new head coach, J.C. Hoyt. Hoyt's work in Kansas City speaks for itself. In her first 5 seasons at UMKC, she had a record of 81-65 overall, which may not sound too impressive, but the 6 Kansas City coaches before her combined to go 242 and 437 overall. Hoyt not only improved their record, but also got them to their first postseason appearance in a decade. Chad Weinberg and the Oklahoma State fans hope that success will transfer over to the Cowgirls. OSU wasted no time in finding a new women's basketball coach, but new head coach J.C. Hoyt talks about why she is a good fit for the position.
And the leadership here, and just having a place where I feel like we can compete at the absolute highest level.
From the hardwood to the diamond, the Cowboys baseball team started Big 12 play Friday and into the weekend against Kansas. OSU had to dig themselves out of a slight hole on a couple of occasions. It would be some close games, but the Cowboys would ultimately find a way to win. Oklahoma State completed a series sweep of Kansas on Sunday at O'Brien Stadium with a 7-2 victory. The Cowboys found themselves in an early deficit in all 3 games, but would use a team effort to overcome the deficit and win all 3. With their win on Sunday, the Pokes moved to 18-6 on the season. This win pushes their win streak to 11 games. The Cowboys will return to action with a Tuesday showdown against Bedlam rival Oklahoma at Tulsa's One Oak Field.
I thought it was a beautiful display of elite pitching, tremendous team defense, and just a couple of really key swings of the bat.
Cowboy baseball will return Tuesday, where they will play Oklahoma Sooners at One Oak Field. OSU baseball isn't the only one doing good this season. The OSU softball team finds themselves going 24-6 so far in the season and 10th ranked in the country. Michael Zorales has more on how good the Cowgirls are doing so far.
Oklahoma State softball is legit. Star pitcher Kelly Maxwell led the way in the Big 12 opener. The Cowgirls stud pitched a no-hit 7-inning shutout against Texas Tech. Oklahoma State coach Kenny Gajewski likes what he saw from his star pitcher.
Thought that Kelly was just very, very sharp, 16 Ks. Can't recall a ball they hit hard on her tonight, so really good to watch that. When she's going like that, she's as good as anybody in the country.
It wasn't a dogfight for long. Shortstop Kylie Naomi went 3 for 3 and got the Cowgirls on the board with the solo shot in the 3rd inning. The Cowgirls added 2 runs in the 4th and 3 in the 5th inning to help cruise to a 7-0 victory. Kenny Gajewski was impressed with his team's at-bats.
And then you top it off with really good at-bats. I thought our at-bats were very sharp, very intentful, no strikeouts, 10 hits.
This Cowgirl lineup is stacked. 4 players had a multi-hit game for the Cowgirls. Miranda Ellish went 3 for 3 batting in the 6th hole for the Cowgirls. This lineup has College World Series potential. Great pitching combined with a strong lineup puts the Cowgirls in the elite category in all of college softball. I'm here at Cowgirl Stadium where the Cowgirls just wrapped up their Big 12 opener against Texas Tech, winning 7-0 behind Kelly Maxwell's 16 strikeout no-hitter. The Cowgirls will be back in action the rest of this weekend against Texas Tech as they improved to 22-6 with their win today. For News OSU, I'm Michael Zorales.
Football may seem well in the rear view, but you may want to look up because Cowboy football just hosted their annual pro day and spring football is well underway. Football seems like so far away for those looking, but for those looking to go to the NFL, the work never stopped. OSU held pro day on Thursday inside the weight room of Boone Pickens Stadium and on the field of Sherman E. Smith Training Center. There were 12 Cowboys working out to show their skills to almost every NFL team. Pro Day wasn't the only news for Cowboy football as spring practice is in full swing. After the impressive season the Pokes had, they look to continue to improve. The Cowboys look to fill in some big holes that are being left behind from those transferring or going to the draft. Mike Gundy says how his team is in a great place.
I feel like our team is in the best condition that we've ever been in at this time of the year. We've had a great off season, so we're excited about getting started.
With football and basketball staying in the focus, it is easy to overlook some of the other teams that the Cowboys have to offer. Katie Pelzel tells us about the OSU polo team and how you might want to keep an eye on them.
The average college student spends 3.5 hours a day in class. What do you do with the rest of your time? The OSU polo team spends their time here taking care of 19 horses.
OSU has a club polo team that is completely student-run and organized.
Everything is taken care of by ourselves at the field, so feeding morning and night, all blanketing, getting water for the horses because we don't have water on property.
The current facility has no running water or electricity, which leaves members that have trucks driving water troughs from campus 3 times a week. Horses have more basic needs than just water, such as visiting the vet. Members pay dues each semester to cover these needs, but it still isn't enough. The team isn't well known or funded by the university, so the club turns to fundraising.
We did philanthropy this year and got a couple grand, not enough to pay for more than 2 vet visits.
OSU's polo team has been very successful, losing only 1 match this season. With their performance during the season, the team has been selected as the wild card for nationals.
So this is the first time any OSU team, male or female, is going to nationals.
The team will travel to nationals in Virginia, where they will compete on horses provided by the hosting schools.
There's going to be a couple of different people that are providing strings of horses for us to use. Unfortunately, we are not able to travel with our horses that far.
OSU will take on University of Kentucky in the first round as they make school history. Katie Pelzel, News OSU.
That's all for sports. We'll see you next week.
And that's News OSU for Tuesday, March 29th. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week. For News OSU, I'm Michael Zorales.